Drinking bourbon, sipping on some scotch. We get a little wild, but it's sure fun to watch. We love what we do, we're drinking every brew. Man, we talk some shit, but we're telling the truth. Yeah, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, raisins in hell and making some noise. Yeah, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. We're here to have fun and we hope you enjoy. We're here to have fun, yeah.
Down at a later date on YouTube. We are recording for YouTube now too. I've got the check on all the different, got both my microphones, and we're almost ready to go. Welcome everybody on Facebook Live. Hey, Aaron Conkle's watching. Great to have you all here tonight. We are going to be going over the different glasswares, but we're also going to be doing podcasts. You get to see how this kind of works. I've got everything set up to get this thing going. What happens is I'm going to start recording on the main podcast. Once that gets going, there's a 30-second spot of the Spirit of French Lick for actually this bottle right here, Solomon Scott Rye Whiskey. That is going to be what we will be tasting tonight in a few of these glasses, and we're going to go over how I utilize the glassware and like that Aaron's like in the log still winter hat. I love the winter hats. I love this time of year. Super excited to be here tonight and do this podcast. So we're gonna get going. So I gotta bow out of the group for a second. Turn up my volume for the thing. Hit this. Get ready. That just let's do a check to make sure everything's working. Yep. Is that working? That's what I wanted to do. All right, that's working. Probably a little bit too good. All right, so here we go. We're going to have our little 30-second interview. The intermission or quiet time for me. So here we go. We will start.
Hey, Scotchy Bourbon Boys fans, this is Alan Bishop, Indiana's Alchemist of the Black Forest. So I'm tuning in here today to tell you all about the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute channel on YouTube. If you're at all interested in the art of distilling, whether it be home distilling or professional distilling, and the intense geekery that goes into that process, then check out the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute on YouTube. I promise you're going to learn something you didn't know before about the art. This is Alan Bishop, head alchemist at Spirits of French Lick. Be on the lookout for a brand new bottled and bond Solomon Scott Rye Whiskey. Made from a mash composed of 65% rye, 35% corn, and 5% victory malt. This 5-year-old 100 proof rye whiskey is a throwback to early 1800s style rye whiskeys of the Ohio Valley. Named after the legendary Daisy Spring Mill distillery owner turned moonshiner Solomon Scott of Paoli, Indiana. Remember, drink responsibly and never drink and drive.
Sure fun to watch. We love what we do, we're drinking every brew. Man, we talk some shit, but we're telling the truth. Yeah, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, raisins in hell and making some noise. Yeah, we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, we're here to have fun
are back for another exciting podcast of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. I'm Tiny. I'm here tonight because we're going to do a quick podcast on this Monday night. Normal podcasting night is Tuesday night. Not going to be able to do a podcast next Tuesday. We are live this Tuesday, we are live on Facebook right now. And there we go. Oh, I should have known one of these days. Oh, El Presidente, hi from Tiny here in the podcast studios here in Canton, Ohio. www.scotchybourbonboys.com for everything Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Go check it out. We are on the verge of upgrading that website, but one of the cool things that are there right now that we're getting ready is our holiday Scotchy Bourbon Balls are going to be there for sale through the website, or you can contact me on Facebook through Messenger. Place your ad this way. We accept Venmo. We accept Cash App. We pretty much accept most payments over the internet, but the Scotchy Bourbon Balls are getting ready right now. We should be making them. We've geared up. We've got the right ingredients, perfect. So we're getting excited. This batch that we're making is going to be early times bottled in bond Scotchy Bourbon Balls. We found that that's a pretty damn good bourbon for making bourbon balls. So that's where we're at with that. We are on all podcast formats. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. We're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys there, and all major podcasting formats. But just remember, wherever you're listening, listen, like, comment, and subscribe. So I'm ready to go tonight. This is a big night for us. Like I said, tomorrow night for anybody local that listens to the podcast or is listening on Facebook, we are going to be at the Barrel Room in North Canton, Carrie Sullivan's place. We've had a couple meetings there and a couple tastings, one with Penelope and Greg Schneider. Well, tomorrow night we are going to be tasting our Knob Creek Barrel Room Scotchy Bourbon Boys Select Barrel Pick. We did in June. It's out. We're in the process of distributing. There's a good amount of you that already have yours. Some are going to be picking it up tomorrow night. But if you're listening and you hear this is November 14th tonight. I'll have that up. And if you're listening tomorrow, it's at the Barrel Room, 6 to 8 p.m. There will be food available. And the folks from Knob Creek are coming up. The team from the Knob Creek pick is coming up. There's going to be giveaways. There's going to be merchandise. There's going to be Scotchy Bourbon Boys merchandise. There's going to be Glencairns for sale, Scotchy Bourbon Boys t-shirts. Plus, there's going to be other stuff through the Knob Creek James B. Beam team that'll be up there. And then also we are going to be tasting the pick. So this is a shot for you to be able to taste that pick. So that's really kind of an exciting... Cheers to you, Randy. That's an exciting thing that's going to be happening tomorrow. But with that said, tonight, there for a while, there's so many different glasswares that are available out there, and there's so many different ways to go. Now, we here at the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, we've been leaning towards the Glencairn crystal glass company, the crystal glass. I've tasted out of pretty much everything, and to this date, I really enjoy the Glencairn experience. There's a lot of things about it. I'll get into that once we go, but we're going to cover all the different glassware. I think I've got all the different, the names of them all. There's so many of them, and they're just how you drink your whiskey determines a lot of times what glass you're going to use, or your mood determines what glass you're going to use. But we'll start off. We're going to start off with this because what we're going to do is go through the different glassware, and then I'm going to pick a couple, and we're going to taste the Solomon Scott rye bottled in bond whiskey that they released through the Spirit of French Lick over the summer. I've got a bottle. It's brand new. I'm going to open it up here. Just let's pre-open. I should have, if any of you listen regularly, you know who Alan Bishop is. You know what he's been doing. And some of his reels. And he makes one of the reels that talks about the different sayings in the whiskey industry that people use, such as smooth. And smooth is one that you're, as a critic, you don't like to say. There's a lot of different ways of telling people that the whiskey is not too hot or too spicy. But when you talk about smooth, he's the distiller and wants to know what the hell smooth means. It doesn't mean anything to him. So, he's says you use your words. But one of the things he talks about are different things, such as a fresh crack. It's pretty funny when he talks about a fresh crack. This would be considered, and it's not. There's no such thing as a fresh crack, as he says, unless you took a shower and you got out and you had one. But in this case, I'm opening this up, and he was also talking about a neck pour. And one of the things he said is why the neck pour isn't a thing is because you can just mix it up before you pour it. Just shake up the bottle. Well, there's this little bit amount of air that has been releasing chemicals from the alcohol, in some cases unwanted flavors and tastes, and it's been all bottled up in there, and then it sits on the surface here. So what I like to do is open it up, let the air out, because I don't want to mix that air back in, and then I put the cork back in, turn the bottle over, and we no longer have what everybody considers. This is the Scotchy Bourbon Boy way. We'll just refer to this as freshening up the bottle before you open it. Anyways, one of the things, Jeff Schwartz, whiskey fellow, he writes a really good review of whiskeys on a regular basis. You should check that out. But he talks about there's never a time he doesn't taste a whiskey without pouring it into the glass and letting it breathe for about 5 to 10 minutes. This way, he's getting anything of the unwanted flavors or tastes will dissipate before he tastes it. Now, in this case, we're not doing that tonight. I'm just curious. But let's just review some of the glasses that we have here. Now, the reason why the glasses are the way they are, and if you look at them in this lineup here, there's different ways of drinking whiskey. Now, let's just talk about, the way that people, when you go to a bar and you want a neat pour, and they don't have the glasses, they'll come up with some rocks glasses. They'll come up with some standard rocks glasses. I do have a couple. I've got one right here. It's basically a little bit of a weighted bottom, just a standard rocks glass. Weighted bottom, you can see that weighted bottom. It gives it weight so that's not going to tip over. And in your hand, it feels good. Now, this is what you'll get typically if you order a pour. You're going to get about a shot, which is only about that much in the bottom. If you get it neat, you'll usually get if you get it neat, you're going to get, in most cases, a measured out shot. You might get a little more. But if you get it on the rocks, I find that if you order whiskey on the rocks at a place like Friday's or at Applebee's or, someplace when you're out or, the Brown Derby, you're going to get a little bit more whiskey with it on the rocks. I don't know why that is, but it always seems like it really is. You get a little bit more once that's put on ice. It's almost as if the bartender, they make a lot of drinks on ice, and if you just put a shot in there and you look at it with some crushed ice or a big ice, it just doesn't look like very much from the standard drink that they're serving. So they usually seem to tend to give you a little bit more. But if you order it neat, Sometimes it's right measured on. Unless you're a regular someplace and they love you, you usually get that standard pour in that standard rocks glass. But one of the cool things that I find is this, that there's other rock glasses out there that if you search and, really search for what it is, you could find some damn good rock glasses. I broke just recently my favorite rock glass, but my favorite part of the rock glass is the weight. Now, this is a fantastic one I picked up at Bourbon 30. I picked it up there because you could see, just the difference overall. Let's just take a look of the two. Look at the size difference, okay? And then the weight of this on the angle and if you look at that, you could see it's not that much of a difference as far as, but the weight of this one to that one is substantial. So what I like on my rocks glasses is to have that weight. It just, when I'm relaxing with a drink, or when I'm in the mood for a big ice, drop a big ice cube in there, put it on ice, and I'm drinking, it just makes me feel it's got a feel that you want, like what would you say, oozes whiskey. It's really just a cool experience having a really weighted, nice rocks glass. Now, this one here is not nowhere near. It's more so weighted than the rocks glass that I had before. The standard. This has a little bit more, but now this is a little fancier. It's crystal, and that lead crystal has some weight, but this has got a little bit of class and beauty. This one I like almost as much as the other one. The same kind of thing. I really enjoy that kind of those two rocks glasses in my collection. Now, the third rocks glass is a Crystal Glencairn rocks glass. This is from a Glencairn rocks glass that we got at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival a couple years ago. And this particular one, it doesn't have the weight. But what this has is that if you're going to be drinking your whiskey and you're in a mood and you're not in a mood for tasting, it's just drinking, what this does the same thing a Glencairn does. It's like when you're just drinking out of the straight glasses and you're drinking, it's not a nose experience or whatever, but this allows you to pour, like say you've tasted 4 or 5 whiskeys in a Glencairn for the taste, and now you've picked one and you want to drink it neat. This is the glass you'd want to put it in, because you're still going to be able to have what the Glencairn offers, where it takes the whiskey, and as it comes up, it basically condenses the odor and the aroma in the middle, and then when you basically put your nose to it, it spreads back out and allows you to pull more air into your nostrils. And then it also has the same kind of thing at the top, where you can get top and bottom type effects. So if I've been drinking out of a Glencairn and I was planning on tasting 4 or 5 different whiskeys, but I was planning on having a serious double pour after I was done of the one I liked, this is a glass I'm choosing. Now, this rocks glass is a Norlin rocks glass. This is very unique because one of the things that these rocks glasses offer is that when you're touching the glass, the heat of your hand is going to warm up the whiskey, and you're going to feel the ice and the cold on your hand also. Where this one is kind of like that thermos effect. It's glass on the inside. What you're touching is not the glass from the inside. There's a space in between when you're holding it that is not the glass. So you've got that where you're not heating up your whiskey. So you're drinking it, you're not heating up your whiskey, and you're also not feeling, if you've got an ice cube in there, it's not going to get cold because this works like a thermos. And the other aspect of it is if you're drinking, you can just see, if you're trying to impress guests, this is a great glass. This is cool as fuck. That's all I got to say. The coolness of this glass is, of the Norland rocks glass, is that you look at it, look at that reflective surface. You put some whiskey in there, and I'll put some whiskey in there a little bit later, and the gold color of that whiskey reflects in that on the black, and it's just a really cool kind of bondish experience. Like, this is a glass that, you know, has a little bit extra to it attached to it. Now, they make these in the clear crystal now. Those are pretty cool. I picked this up initially. It was a set of 2. It's now a set of 1. Kind of depressed about that. That's another thing about glassware, especially when you get into your crystal glassware and some of the more expensive glassware, especially doing the podcast. I'm using it so much and I'm around it so much that there's a certain amount of breakage that happens. It's just not, whereas before I had a lot of kind of cool things and it was storage because I wasn't always using it, but I'm always using it now. So, you know, there you go. This is how this was the rocks glass. This is when you're in a mood to drink a little bit more, and you're going to be drinking, you know, that type of thing. So that brings us to the different tasting glasses. The first tasting glass, this is called a crystal stem glass. This is, you'll see a lot in, I see this a lot in Europe and Scotland and Ireland. You see this type of glass. You got that big stem. You can hold it. It's got basically the Glencairn shape on top. So, you know, it's got the tulip shape so that you can drink it. But quite frankly, in my opinion, this on a tasting, where it falls short, and I would never use it for a tasting, is it's tippy. You're looking at, if you have 4 of these up, and the odds of someone tipping it, and it's also breaky, or breakable. So this one, although I think from a tasting experience, you've got it so you're not touching the glass, not warming up the actual whiskey. You basically can spin it around. You can get the legs off of there, and you can the nose that you're pulling off, you got the tulip shape so that it's condensing the aromas and you're able to get the right smell. So from a technical standpoint, this works out great, but from a practical standpoint, I really think this one falls short. Now you've got the Kinsey, which you see a lot again. Now the Kinsey, you've got a couple things. You can hold it on the bottom here, but it's not a base. You're still kind of there. So you got that, but this also has where it sits in the bottom of the glass. You've got it sitting in the bottom of the glass, and it goes so you can roll it around, see the legs, but you don't have the teardrop shape that you've got on the Glencairn. So although this is something that I see a lot out there, and I have no problem tasting out of this, but it's not my favorite because when I'm nosing, it seems like it's a little bit harder to nose than the teardrop shape. Now this here, oh, come on. That's, all right. So I had it, so I'm going to look it up anyways, but it's, God. Wait, I almost had it again. It's just like, this is a tiny moment where I basically had all the names. I know the name of that. I've said it a bunch of times, but it's not coming to me. So instead of sitting here looking like an idiot, I'll just go right back to the types of whiskey. Oh, come on. I had that at all. It's a Libby. That's what I wanted to say. This is a Libby glass. Now, this glass here is something special to me, and it was derived by in Kentucky by some of the master distillers. I want to say it was Fredno was involved. I want to say also that Jimmy Russell was involved, but they got together to derive, what would you say, the best bourbon tasting glass that you can. So you see the base, again, just like a Glencairn, but the shape here, this will hold an ice cube. So a little bit, it'll do that. So you put it on ice and whatnot, but it also catches you could see the thing, but this is tapered up here just a little bit. But I find when I'm nosing off this one, this gets you a little closer to the whiskey than the Glencairn. But I find that the nose is still a little bit harder. Now, this particular Glencairn, if you look at it, it's the Kentucky Bourbon Festival Bourbon Trail. This is what I got in 2019 for completing the world famous Kentucky Bourbon Trail. And I did that the week of my birthday. So it was really kind of cool. It tells you this is what you got for completing the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. It's a special tasting glass for me right there based off that. Now, the next tasting glass we have is it's the Copa. And the Copa, where it's like a Glencairn in shape, but you don't got the base. So without the base, when you're touching down at the bottom, this is a Whiskey Thief, a Copa. I'm not saying that this is a bad one. You can nose it. It works out really good. I'm happy with this, but once again, the aspect of there's a couple things. You can't roll it around. It doesn't roll to the ground. And as far as nosing, it doesn't quite have the lip that's going on, but it's got the teardrop shape, but you're also holding it and warming up the whiskey while you use that glass. Again, no cut on these glasses. It's just different types of preference. Now, this one is a Denver Lily, and this is unique as hell. It's got some coolness to it. You can see that. This is a Blood Oath from Luxrow. Picked that up at the gift. And this one, as far as a tasting glass, and it also, now it's hard to get a rock in there. It's even smaller. You can see it fits into the top. So if you're talking big ice, you're not getting it. You can drop an ice cube in this one, but this one is designed. I really feel that this one goes well maybe with cigars, because of the fact that with the cigar, you're going to be wanting to get the flavors and the taste, but when you're smoking a cigar, a lot of times nosing is kind of canceled out by the cigar smoke to some extent, as far as what I can tell. So it seems more like it would be something you taste with a cigar. All right, that brings us to the Glencairn. First, I've got the mini Glencairn. This is for a little taste. You can see the shape. This is actually from the Kentucky Bourbon Festival this year. That's from the Bardstown Bourbon Company. They had all different ones, but this one has the little small shape. You put the whiskey in there, nosing, it's perfect. I like it. It's great for just tasting samples and that type of stuff. Now, when you get into the actual Glencairn, now Martin Duffy is the Crystal Glencairn glass representative for North America. He's also a Scotchy Bourbon Boy, a friend of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, has been on the podcast 2 times. And he's responsible for us getting these glasses of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. I love these Glencairns. It's it's like the logo. You get your logo on there. The tasting glass. We are now going to go over how to properly taste taste whiskey out of a Glencairn. So hang in there with me. I'll watch your comments. If you got any, if anybody's got any questions, feel free to ask them. I've got this bottle. It's been open for a little bit now. I'm going to get these off to the side so that we can do the tasting. You can hear me moving the stuff. And all the people on Facebook, I hope you're enjoying yourself tonight. But here we go. Pouring into the glass of the Glencairn. You could see that, let's give it it'll fit a single pour. I suggest to most bars that this is tonight. I do have my shot glass. Yes, I'm going to get a shot. So I suggest to most places that I drink at and I'm buying whiskey, and especially if they have, what would you say, if they have the really, good pours and they're pouring in a rock glass, it's kind of defeating the purpose of having the good pours, in my opinion. They should be having their advertising, the company's logo on the Glencairn, giving these people the tasting experiences that you'd want to give them. So I'm going to pour a regular 1.5 ounce pour, and I'll show you what that looks like in the Glencairn. So right there, you can see it fills the bottom. That's about what you want. So the cool thing about a Glencairn is, and I'm going to do it. Now let's pop the cap on this again. Move this. I don't want to move it off camera. Let's move that to right there. Let's get here. I did an idiot thing like I always do. Put the camera by the speaker. All right. So one of the cool things about the Glencairn, one, it's got the base. So you can hold your whiskey without heating it up. So it's gone into the thing, and you could shake it around, roll it around in there. But one of the other things you can do, it's a one pour, is put it on the counter and roll that glass around so that it coats the sides. Oh my God. Oh, that was great. Just drop that phone. All right, let's see if I can do this without pulling off all the microphones with my... All right. I just don't... That's a technical thing that's not happened yet, folks, and it just happened on this podcast. And I'm trying to get back over into the position. God damn it. All right, that'll do it. If I tip the whole thing over, that'll be another one. I could tip the whole bar over. I just can't wait for that. So... there we go. I'm still checking out. Say hi to Greg and Danny watching. Jason's watching too. Nice. Thanks for watching. But again, let's try that again without knocking the phone. You can roll it around, and then you could see the legs. The legs are what happens. See that? It's sticking, but now it starts to run back into and form those legs. You can kind of see them right there. And as they go down, now this is really nice. I'm taking a look. Ooh, some really, they're not thick, but it's really a sticky leg. They're sticky. Hopefully people on Facebook can see that too. So one of the cool things is that that tells you the viscosity of the whiskey you're drinking. The fatty, not acids, but the fatty content of the whiskey that's still in there that coats and makes it thicker and gives it that creaminess. You can tell, and how much how well the body's going to be. Now, so folks, Not a huge fan of rye. I do have some of the ryes I like. I like Michter's. I like chocolate ryes. I like a lot of different type ryes, but I'm not a fan of a vegetable, celery, pickle, dill. I'm just not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of seagrass, but this is my palate. My palate is my palate, and just like your palate's your palate, always. When you're drinking, it doesn't matter what I like. Now, if our palates are aligned and you notice that you taste some of the things that I talk about on the podcast, it's great. That's super. But if they're not, that's okay too. I'm not saying that I'm right, because how can I be right for what you taste? It's just, I taste what I taste, you taste what you taste, you like what you like, and I like what I like. So I'm hoping. Now, I've had the Solomon Scott barrel pick that was released earlier. I was able to obtain that through Coombsy, Steve Coombs. He was able to, get a bottle for me, ask me. I'm so glad I did. I loved it. But I have not had just the 100 proof bottled in bond rye, and I'm about to take my first sip. Now, we've done what's the thickness, the viscosity. Now let's do a nose. I'm going to nose this. Now, the Glencairn has that tulip shape. It comes up, it goes, it thins out, and then thickens just a little bit, but it still kind of narrows. So as it hits the thinness, it just narrows upward. It doesn't go back outward. When you're talking about the Libby, and you look at that goes back outward. But the Glencairn goes up and then kind of angles inward a little more. And this is not a rocks glass. You're not going to try and put any ice in here. And it's designed for nosing, tasting. Now I pick up a minty and a little bit of chocolate. I'm liking the smell of that. Nice nose. And some rye. Yeah, that's pretty good. Wow. So let's try that again. So when you're tasting, a fun fact, that there's super tasters and there's the regular tasters. 37% of all women are super tasters, and only 17% of men are super tasters. So it's not that men taste better or worse than women when it comes to super tasters. It's just that there's more women who are super tasters. Women definitely can smell better than men. But one of the things about training your palate is doing the aroma course or therapy or aroma education, where you identify cardamom and you identify cassia and you identify baking spices and you identify moldy grass taste. You identify the acetones. So if you could teach yourself what things smell like, it transfers into what they taste like. So that's one thing as far as identify your palate. It's really, people talk about all the time, well, I don't taste this or I don't taste that. You have to know what everything that you're tasting tastes like. So doing an aroma kit and smelling everything and knowing what it's supposed to smell like, tasting different spices that people talk about and put them in there, you really can increase your knowledge. So, if you know, like I'll go back to what cardamom smells and tastes like, you can identify it. But if you don't, you might be smelling and tasting it, but you're not going to be able to identify it. And that's one of the keys to developing your palate, is to be able to identify and express what you're tasting, smelling. So on this one, I get a little bit of caramel. That I got to figure out what that. A little bit of dark chocolate. And a saltiness. There's a saltiness on this nose. I want to say almost a salty garlic. I'm not. Anyways, but when it comes to the taste, I get a caramel, chocolate, mint finish. Very, very good whiskey. Very, very good rye. I'm impressed. I would not, what would you say? I'm not giving this bottle up. It's some damn good stuff for rye. There's no doubt about it. I give it Tiny gives this Solomon Scott a thumbs up. But again, now we're talking about the glassware. One of the reasons once I picked out the glassware I wanted, and I was able to contact Martin Duffy, and he became and then told me how I could go about getting the logo. So I basically am working to get local bars, a local distillery and winery hooked up with Martin so that they can basically have Glencairns, because I really think having any tasting glass besides a rock glass at your place is going to up the experience. I would say you don't want the long stem crystal, because when you have a long stem crystal, things are going to fall over and break way more. Glencairns are pretty durable. I've dropped them straight on the floor and had, more often than not, them not break. So I enjoy this glass a lot. And this is the Scotchy Bourbon Boys official glass that we sponsor, and anywhere that I'm tasting out of this is the proper way to really nose, taste, check the body, and really have a great tasting experience. So the one last thing I wanted to do for everybody is show everybody what that Norlin looks like. Pouring with the cap on. I'll pour a little bit more of this in here. I hope I can get it in there, but it's so freaking pretty when it's in there. I'm pretty much done with that. You can look at this. I think I can. Yeah, you're kind of catching that. I don't want to dump it out. I put a little bit in there, but look at that golden color that when you're drinking, you just got that beauty on the black of that beautiful aspect of shine in the bottom of the glass. It's really kind of cool. Let's see. Did I get it in there? You can kind of catch it on Facebook. I'll try and tip it a little bit more. All right, without spilling. Let's see if that did it. All right, let's see. There you go. It's in there. Just making sure I didn't spill it anymore. But that color that's in there, when you're drinking, you look at it, it's just, you got a little bit of light on it. It's just cool. It's just a cool thing to do. And right now I'm using it as a rocks glass. And once again, we can review the glasses. I personally like the Crystal Glencairn. You've got the Glencairn Mini, but then you've got the Libby. The Libby is not that different, but you could probably add a little bit of ice on this one, have a multi-purpose. This was made specially by distillers in Kentucky for a really good whiskey tasting glass. You've got the Crystal... Oh my God, I know what this was. You've got the It's the Crystal Stem. It's called this Crystal Stemware taster, which is a little bit, like I said, tippy, a little bit a little bit more ability to break, not as sturdier as the rest. You've got the Kinsey, which I have no problem tasting in this. It just isn't quite as romantic, and you can't the way that you nose this, you lose a little bit on the nose. Then, excuse me, you got the Glencairn Rocks glass, which it's just the bigger version. So if you're drinking something neat and you're nosing it, this is what you want. And then you've got the Denver Lily glass, which is a cool glass. And like I said, I think if I was smoking a cigar, not worrying about nosing, and you put it in there, you're touching the glass on this little rim, so you're not heating up your whiskey, because the whiskey would be below, unless it was full to the top, and then you really probably aren't into tasting. You're into trying to get down. You've got the Norlander, the Norland rocks glass, which is just if you're just relaxing and you got a cool bar and you're with friends and you want to be cool. You got the color going on in the inside. You got the shine of the glass on the outside. I mean, it's a black matte glass, just a cool glass. You got a coral. This one, what I found, I have no problem tasting in this, especially small taste at distilleries. This is the Whiskey Distillery. They put it in there. You're drinking it before it warms up, but it's basically a Crystal Glencairn without the base. You can't roll it. You can't do anything. This is just purely for a tasting experience, but there's nothing wrong with that. You can really get a nice nose. It's got the tapered thing going and everything. Then you've got the heavy duty rock glasses and the heavy duty crystal rock glass. The crystal rock glass is beautiful. It's got weight. And, this is something that when you're talking about crystal, you put this out on your bar. If you've got it on the, you don't have to shelve it. It's kind of a cool thing. But then you've got your heavy duty rocks glass. This thing has weight. When I saw this, I had broken my prior rocks glass. I was kind of bummed. It was my favorite glass, but I went here to Bourbon 30, and this glass has, this is a weapon. If someone was attacking you and you threw this at them, you would probably kill them. So it's the kind of rock glass that I like. It's a more of a manly experience as far as a rock glass. So there you have it. Thanks to the Spirit of French Lick and Alan Bishop, the Alchemist, for us tasting the Solomon Scott Rye bottled in bond, released this summer. Super happy. It delivers. So with that said, remember everybody, it's been a great night. Had a lot of fun with y'all. We're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. www.scotchybourbonboys.com for everything. You could pick up these Glencairns. You could pick up the t-shirts. We're starting our bourbon ball sale, so check out the website for everything Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Then if you want, you could support us on Patreon. Just know that in a little bit we're updating that, because we've got our barrel program getting designed right now, our barrel pick program. Know that also we have a William Dalton pick on the horizon. We will be having sometime later this week pricing for the pre-sale vouchers, so check out that. And then remember, all social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Check us out. Remember, on all podcast formats, we just ask Alexa or Siri to play the Scotchy Bourbon Boys podcast, and they will do it along with all the other formats. So remember, wherever you are, like, listen, comment, and subscribe. Everything that you do, please, and also leave good reviews. And everything you do, please, it helps us out. We appreciate your support. Remember, good bourbon equals good friends and good times, and you need to go out there and live your lives dangerously. So I am going to search. This didn't work real good the other night, but let's see how this works right now. I am doing the process of it. It looks like it's getting there. It's there. I'm going to make sure this is on. I'm going to do a test run, but we're going to have little Steve-O take us out.
Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. For if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die.
All right, we're done on the podcast. I'm turning that on. And we're still live Facebook. If anybody wants to ask any questions now that we're just live, and feel free to ask me any questions about the glassware. What type of glassware do you use? No problem. I'll answer those questions. And let me just real quick here do what I gotta do to this, because I found over the years if I don't do it right away, I would be in jeopardy. So I don't like to be in jeopardy of losing content. Here we go. Boom. Almost ready. All right, let's call this. All right, it's building the episode. I'm going to cut us off for the YouTube recording real quick. Dant Crossing, Gethsemane, Kentucky. Timeless hospitality that stirs the spirit. Dant Crossing is a one-of-a-kind destination for unforgettable weddings, memorable corporate events, day trips, and weekend getaways. The pastoral campus is anchored by Log Still Distillery and includes an amphitheater that seats 2,000, a 12-acre lake for fishing and unique lodging options, creating an immersive experience that's rooted in the community and culture of our little slice of Kentucky. More attractions will open soon at Dant Crossing, including our 21,000 square foot distillery, which we will have the ability to produce 15,000 barrels of spirit each year, a network of wooded walking trails, fully functional private train depot, farm-to-table restaurant, and the Legacy, a premier wedding and events venue. Whether you're looking to host an event, book a stay, or reserve a tasting, we're ready to welcome you. Learn more at dantcrossing.com.